everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me Dr. Walter Sims, all the way from Alabama.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Sims, he's written quite a few books, quite a numerous plethora assortment of books. He's a motivational speaker, and he is also the pastor of Sweet Bethel Baptist Church down there in Alabama. So
That's right.
welcome to the show. Thank you for making time for me today.
Well, Lana, I am just thankful to be part of your audience today, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. And greetings from Alabama. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. All righty. So, Dr. Sims, I'm going to do something a little different for me today. My interview structure will be a little different.
Okay.
So what I've done is I went and I've collected 5 of your titles of your books.
Okay.
And my plan is to just read the title, and then I have a question in mind, just simply based on the title, and then
that's perfect.
So I'm just gonna ask the question, and then I'm gonna let the pastor preach, as we say. Okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So one of the titles of your books is called "Walk in Purpose and Grow Rich." Okay, a practical guide to determining what your purpose is.
That's
now,
right.
The question that I want to ask is, I think this concept of purpose is something that many people struggle with. We hear it all the time, just thrown out there in the atmosphere, but people really don't know how to define it, how to grasp it, how to, harness it. And so if you could tell us what purpose is first and foremost.
Well, that is a great question, because like we were talking in pre-production, and I asked what we're going to talk about. You said, well, it's all about you, Dr. Sims. This is my wheelhouse, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I help people. I'm a life coach as well as a pastor. Mm-hmm. I help people figure that out, that being why they're here. One of my mentors, Les Brown, says the 2 most important days in a person's life is the day that they were born and the day they figure out why. And like you said, only 2 out of 10 people, Lana, really know their why. And that's why people are stressed, depressed, distressed, oppressed, because they don't know their why. Because if you know your why, you and I know our why. It gets you up in the morning. You don't want to go to bed at night. You are fueled for the day because you know that why. Now, the book, Walk in Purpose, Grow Rich, is a recipe. Because one of my quotes says, if you're successful, you may or may not be in your purpose. But if you're in your purpose, you will be successful. And success throws a lot of people off because it is a false indication or a misindication as to whether or not you're walking in your purpose. And so that's one of the things that I coach people in, is to figure that out. And one of the recipes simply says, let's just say God stops our clock right now. Time stands still. And you're standing in front of God, and God said, I'll start your clock again if you tell me why I should send you back. What you gonna do? You're not gonna tell God, I want to be famous, I want to make more money, I wanna be social media, I want to be TikTok famous, I want to go out and just be all that in a bag of chips. You're gonna tell God, if you give me more time, I'll do that thing that you've contracted me to do. And that gets people to thinking like, wow, so what's that thing I should be doing? Now, another thing, let me say this. Another thing, like you said, the reason it confuses people, because people misapply passion with purpose. And another one of my quotes says, if you're passionate, you may not be in purpose. But if you're in purpose, you're going to be passionate. Because passion wanes, but purpose remains the same.
That's right. Because I'm passionate about chocolate cake, but that's not my purpose.
hey, I'm passionate about singing like Fred Sanford. And if I was sure, but God didn't call me to sing.
There you go. Amen. Now you mentioned social media, so I want to segue to the next title because my question is about social media. And your next book that I want to talk about is I Declare Love. And it's a 21-day devotional to improve your self-esteem. And that ties in to the question I was going to ask you, because we're living in a world today of social media, right? And everybody is scrolling through all of these other people's worlds where they're presenting
Right.
their best self all the time.
Right.
And a lot of times you get caught up in that, and it damages your self-esteem because you're comparing yourself a lot of time to these other people's
That's right.
purported lives or whatever. So how do you kind of get in balance and get your self-esteem on track and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm really okay. I really shouldn't be judging myself by.
That's right. And what I tell people is that self-esteem is so powerful in the sense not to be arrogant, but God specifically made you for a purpose. And if you walk in that purpose, can't nobody touch you. You know what I'm saying? I love movies. I love Rocky. I watched every Rocky that was ever made. There was a spinoff called Creed, and it's Creed 1, Creed 2, and Creed 3 is coming. That's not gonna have Sylvester Stallone. But in Creed 1, Creed said, Rocky, I'm not gonna fight unless you train me. Because Rocky was his dad's best friend that got killed in Rocky 3 by the Russian boxer. Apollo Creed got killed. And so as they were training, Creed was boxing in the mirror. And Rocky whispered to him, he said, your greatest opponent is not that man in the ring, but that man that's staring back at you in the mirror.
There you go.
Well, we got to understand, I'll never be Lana. Lana would never be Dr. Sim, but I get in trouble when I try to compare myself to Lana. And what we got to avoid is if I compare myself to you, that's apples and oranges. And I did a 5th grade graduation a few years ago, and I taught the kids in that 15-minute speech. I said, are you an apple or are you an orange? I said, now, if you want to be an orange and the criteria is to make orange juice and you're an apple, you'll fail every time. But if you're an apple and the criteria is to make apple juice, you'll pass with flying colors. And we get in trouble because we won't decide to be who we are. And I tell people, I say, okay, you're supposed to be the leading actor or actress in your major movie. I said, but what you want to do, you want to be a B-roll actor in a movie, you ought to be the lead character.
Preach, Pastor, preach.
I said, guess what? You are not going to get any award for being a B-roll actor in a movie. You should have been the lead character. Come on, somebody.
There you go. So, that's right.
And I tell people, I said, if in the book, I Declare Love, it is criminal to expect somebody else to love you and you won't love yourself.
There you go. That's the first step. A lot of people want everybody to love them, and they're unlovable. They haven't learned that process of loving me first. And that's the first key to somebody loving you.
That's right. That's right.
Now, speaking of love, so you must knew the direction I was going to be walking today, right?
Amen.
There you go. So speaking of love, the next title is We Are Engaged. Now what?
Boom, boom, boom.
So this is a premarital coaching workbook to help couples answer questions couples should make sure they have addressed before they get married. And a lot of times I see these young, especially these young folks, I'm so in love. I just want to get married, and they don't understand the work that happens after the dress and the wedding invitations or whatever. So when couples are about to embark on marriage, what are some things you see them missing in this whole process of what marriage is about?
Right. Well, the whole birth of this book happened. I had to preach for one of my friends in Atlanta a couple of years ago. And after service, I was waiting on the pastor and his wife. They were going to take me to lunch. And I talked to his one of his secretaries, and she's a wedding planner. Mm-hmm. And so she said, Dr. Sim, I'm so glad you got a few moments. Do you have a book? Because I need something for the couples that I help plan for the day, and they don't have anything ready for their life. Mm-hmm. The Lord quickened my spirit, Lana, and in 30 days, I produced that workbook. because I list 12 commandments that I take couples through when they work with me prior to their wedding, and I officiate the wedding. And one of the very first questions, the first commandment that needs to be obeyed is understanding thou shalt know why you're getting married.
Mm.
And you see so many people in social media. A lot of the women are talking about, oh, I can't wait for my king. I want my king to treat me like a queen. But I rarely see women say, I want to be a queen for my king.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm.
different perspective. And man, love is work. And so the first commandment, that really makes them pause and say, wow, why
Mhm.
are we getting married? And you know, as a life coach, you ask those questions that are thought provoking so that we can go a lot deeper, you know, because
Mhm.
you got to work on communication, you got to work on compromise, you got to work on financing, you got to work on submission. You got
Mhm.
it's a lot. And very few people really spend a lot of time in the forefront because you may or may not realize, you know what? We need to put a stop on everything. We need to call a timeout. And how many couples today that are divorced wish they had went through a process to help them either solidify or convince them that they should not go forward.
Indeed, the generations are so different now, and I'm kind of caught in the middle with my age bracket. But
Right,
I remember my great grandmother, my grandmother, and that generation. Till death do us part was
right.
till death do us part, and some lessons that they taught me I carried to my marriage with my late husband. And I remember rolling over, man, I don't like you today. I love you. I love you, but I
Right,
don't. And I think a lot of younger couples feel like, oh, we're just supposed to like each other every day. We're supposed to be,
right.
galloping through the tulip fields every day. And marriage is not
No, yeah,
like
hey,
that.
you gotta go to the bathroom some days and lock the door and just sit there for a minute.
I tell all the ladies, some days you're gonna look over him like, I can't stand the way he breathes. I just
I
can't.
know, right? I know, right? Why you gotta wear your shoes like that?
That's great. That's great. So let's move on to the next book here. The next book I want to talk about is Keys to Be Successful. Keys to Be Successful. And I guess this might tie into some of the other stuff we were talking about earlier.
That's right.
A
That's right.
lot of people talk the talk. They want to be successful. I want to be a successful entrepreneur. I want to be a successful student. I want to be a successful, in marriage. But they articulate it, but then they half step on the work to it.
Right. That's right.
So, do people just not understand what success is about? Or, because
That and that's so powerful because that book that's a working title. The book is just what the doctor ordered, and basically it's a workbook on a 21-day devotional to becoming more positive.
Mhm.
And what I teach people, I'm an electrical engineer by vocation, so I'm all about math, and I have an equation. I said 90-10. Doctor saying, what's 90-10? Be positive 90% of the time and negative 10% of the time.
Mhm.
Because the key to being successful is really how you handle every situation. And walking in purpose is one of those great keys. But the second key is you cannot die on every hill. You got to learn when to fight and when to say, you know what, I'm gonna take an L today. And you
Mhm.
got to keep moving forward. The word for 2021 is moving forward. You cannot, and you and I read the same headlines. We going through a whole lot right now. And we got to stay focused on our purpose and not get entangled. Paul says a good soldier doesn't get entangled in the warfare. We got to understand we can't fight every fight. We're not going to win every fight. We are going in for the long haul, the battle, the
Mm.
war, if you will. Life is a battle. And you got to learn, you know what, Lord? Okay, that didn't work out, but you know what? All things work together for my good. I'm gonna keep pressing forward, and you got to keep pressing forward because this life, like you were saying a moment ago, life is a trip, and if you don't have that good foundation, if you don't have that a good support system, you gonna get some flat tires, and if you don't have a good AAA program, you're gonna be like in that ditch with four flat tires, and you just gonna sit there. And
There you
so
go.
we got to keep pressing for one of my idols, and I put that in air quotes. One of my idols is Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched one of his videos, and he actually said, Lana, I missed more shots than I made. But what do we
Mm-hmm.
remember him for? Do we remember the misses? We remember that shot over Craig Elo that got them in the playoffs. That first, when they first started going to the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland and Chicago were tied 2-2, and the game they were down by a point, and Jordan got the last shot and he hit it at the buzzer. I
There you
watched
go.
that game. Now I'm dating myself. I watched that game. I remember the game he played against the Lakers when he won his first championship, and he took the ball on one side of the rim, took it under his chin, and laid it up on the left side. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's got 6 NBA championships to his credit. But if you sit down and talk to him, I missed a whole lot of shots. And I got this quote, and it's in that book, Just What the Doctor Ordered, Keys to Success. I got this quote. You are never, I say, don't worry about missing a shot, but rather be concerned if you don't take the shot.
That's right. That's right. And I think a lot of people get set back because we make some wrong turns, we make some mistakes, we get some gut punches, and some of us want to kind of sit in the corner, rock back and forth, and wallow, and oh,
Right.
woe is me, or whatever. But you're never going to reap the rewards. You're never going to have the success if you stay down. You have to get up, and you have to take another shot. You have to keep on moving
Yeah.
forward. Keep
And,
keep on
and,
keeping on.
and talking about social media, and this is a great point, talking about Instagram and the false picture that it showed. Instead of Instagram, and I'm just thinking about this right now, I need the ugly gram. I don't need to know about the Lamborghini you're driving.
That's
I
right.
want to know about that Pinto you're driving with a hole in the floor in the back, like that LTD my daddy drove when we were little. We could actually, my dad said, "Be careful, put your seatbelt on, don't put your foot in that hole." There was a hole in the back of that car that we could actually see the road when my daddy was driving. I don't need to see when Lana is all dolled up. I don't need to see your dog.
No, when I got the
want to
cat
see
butter in
I
my
want to see the
eye.
cat. I want to see the cat butter. I want to see the drool. I want to see you when you're at your lowest, because
That's right.
everybody can handle being high.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
that's why we have to be careful of the false picture
Mm-hmm.
that social media paints sometimes. And a lot of people getting in their feelings, because people don't show you when they shopping at Walmart, but they'll
Mm-hmm.
show you when they're on the beach in Costa Rica. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? They
That's
don't
right.
show you when they standing in line to get food at Publix or Winn-Dixie or Kroger, but they'll show you when they sitting at a lobster steak dinner that's candlelit and they sipping on wine. Oh, I don't need to see
Mm-hmm.
all that. I don't need to see all that.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to see the real deal. I had read some research the other day where they were saying today's in society, we are suffering from greater numbers of loneliness,
Yeah,
depression, suicide, and it's all stemming from just looking at other people's lives on social media and
that's right.
thinking that we're lack, but we're not understanding that, like you mentioned, a Lamborghini, most of the time those Lamborghinis are leased for that
That's right.
hour or so,
That's
so they
right.
could take the picture. That this person took 100 selfies before they got that right one to put on Instagram.
The
And we're
lighting
sitting,
is good,
yes, and we're comparing ourselves to that, and we're becoming more depressed because we're thinking we're not measuring up to the bar. So I think people really need to rethink that whole
Yeah.
uh social media thing. So the next title I want to move on to, Dr. Sims,
All right.
and you got the energy for that, but the title is Living Motivated, a
That's right.
practical guide to living a motivated lifestyle. And we talked about this, but life gives us distractions and deterrents.
That's right.
When we're talking about purpose, sometimes we get caught up with something that we're good at, but that's not our purpose. Like I
That's
said,
right.
I like chocolate cake, but
Right.
me being a baker and baking chocolate cakes all the time is not my purpose.
That's right.
How does one stay motivated? Stay motivated, on task, not distracted, focused. Because at the end of the day, when we close our eyes at final time and they put us 6 feet under or
That's right.
whatever, you want to say you were here and you did what you were supposed to do while you were here.
There you go. There you go. The one of the quotes in that book, and my sister and I were sitting on the couch at my mama and my late dad's house. And my sister and I were talking, we were throwing stuff back and forth to each other. She was on my show a few weeks ago. Came up with this quote, Lana. Your situation is not your destination, but it should be your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And what we got to understand is that we're going to have some ups and we're going to have some downs. My first coach asked me, she said, how are you going to meld or weld together being a minister and being a life coach, thus the name, the Minister of Motivation. And in that book, living motivated is a lifestyle. You ought to be eating good. You ought to be sleeping well. You ought to be exercising. You ought to be doing that thing you've been called to do every day. And every day you ought to be doing that thing you've been called to do, because therein lies joy. And I coach my clients when I coach people through this at the beginning of the day. How am I going to serve my purpose? When you wake up in the morning, hit the floor, eating your Cheerios, drinking your coffee, what am I going to do for my purpose today? And when you lay down at night, after you've had your dinner, after you talk to the family, after you shut down for the day, what did I do for my purpose today? Mm-hmm. And those two simple questions will help keep you going. The B part of my answer is, if you understand your purpose, if your why is big enough, that alone is going to keep you motivated. In my favorite book, we just celebrated his resurrection. Every day, Jesus stayed on task. He could have been a baker. He could have been a fisherman. He could have been a restaurant owner. He could have had first mayor of Jerusalem. He could have been an orator. He could have been a professional speaker. He could have been a teacher. He could have been a pastor. But he said, I got to get to Calvary. Okay, let me
preach. Where my church fans? Oh.
But you got to understand that every day, and like you said a few moments ago at the beginning of the program, you said every day is a gift, and we got so much time. We got a limited amount of time, and so I would rather wear out than rust out. Mm-hmm. I would rather be used up everything, because when I am laid to rest, Lana, I want to have used every ounce of my being all that I can be. And I know that's cliche, but it works. You know what I'm saying? And I challenge everybody that's listening to us, be all that you can be, because you have been fearfully and wonderfully made. God doesn't make any junk. You might think, and I'm excited now, Lana, because everybody telling me now at my seasoned age of 54, 55 in June, I got a dad body now. And so all these chisel bodies, they not in anymore. It's everybody want a dad body now. So I'm walking in high.
You in style now.
Oh, I'm in the house, Lana. I'm in the house. But you ought to be excited about the life that God has given you.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Awesome. I love it. Now, I want to ask you, when it comes to being motivated, because you talked about Jesus and, right, he has the people around him.
That's right.
Sometimes we can't do it ourselves. How important is it to have a support system, to have some people around you that are going to call you on your,
Hello. I have a private group. I call it the Motivation Zone. So I'm an advocate of getting like-minded people in something like the private group that I sponsor. In the book, Living Motivated, such a great question, Lana. In the book, Living Motivated, I talk about you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around. You don't need 1 million. You don't need 1,000. That's why I've limited my private group to 300 people. You don't need a whole lot of people. You just need to be surrounded by the right people. One of the miracles, one of the events in the Bible, and I've stopped saying stories in the Bible. I say events because they really happen. So one of the events in the Bible, Jesus passes a man that's been at a pool for 38 years. Every year he showed up at the pool trying to get into the healing water, but he had nobody. And so that was his first alibi. When Jesus asked him, do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be better? His first alibi was, I ain't got nobody. Now we can all play pitiful, but like
Yes.
you said, like you just said, you have somebody in your circle that's gonna pull your coattail.
Mm-hmm.
We need somebody that's like-minded. You need some cheerleaders. And this is why, Lana, if you hung around me, every time I talk to people, I'm speaking life. And a lot of people kind of chuckle because I always pull out the best in somebody I see. I'm always complimenting. I'm always lifting them up. And one of my friends asked me one time, why are you always complimenting me? Why are you always saying something nice about me? I said, you got enough people in your life that telling you you ain't worth two dead flies with their
There you
wings cut
go.
off. And they
There you go.
started laughing. Oh, she was like, Dr. Sam, you done told the truth. I want to be that person like Jesus, that when people left him, they felt better. And so
Mm-hmm.
I am an advocate. And even Jesus had an inner circle of three. When he went up on the mountain of
Yes.
transfiguration, he brought Peter, James, and John. Those
Mm-hmm.
three. And after they really saw him transform, Peter was like, Lord, I don't want to leave from here. He went country on him, Lana. He said, I just don't want to go down from this mountain. Lord, let me just stay here. And the Lord said, you know, dog, we can't stay here.
So they got sweet tea. They got sweet tea up here. I ain't going nowhere. They got sweet tea.
Oh, Lord, you know, do we really got to go? And the Lord said, you know, we got to get out of here. We can't stay here. And so I advocate being around those people that are going to speak to you. And also in Living Motivated, we are bombarded on average, and I'll just round up because, again, I'm an engineer. You are bombarded every day with 1 million negative thoughts. Now, multiply that by the amount of people that you're around. And since we've been socially distant, we don't be around as many people as we used to be. Mm-hmm. But think about the people you used to work with in the office, about 10 people. Let's just say it's 10 people on your floor, and they got 1 million negative thoughts. That's 10 million negative thoughts that you got to deal with on a daily basis. And people wonder why they need a motivator. They wonder why they need a life coach. They wonder why they need to have a weekly call with somebody that's speaking life into them.
There you
because
go.
In my favorite book, it also said the power of life and death is in the tongue.
There you go. There you go. And I think one of the things that really hinders a lot of people is that we have people in our circle that you think that are your friends, that you would think that are your favorite auntie or whatever, but they're actually speaking negative things into your life and trying, well, I'm just looking out for you. I'm just trying. No,
you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, not for real. No, you're not.
You mean me no good. You don't mean me. You don't want the best for me. You're trying to hold me back, or you're trying to bring me back from, you want me to be comfortable in your comfortable area, in your comfortable zone, when I was meant for, I was birthed for, I was born for, I was destined for.
Because to your point, what did Peter tell Jesus when he made that affirmation? He made that declaration when Jesus he stood on that mountain. He was at Caesarea Philippi at the backdrop of all those pagan gods and everything. And he asked his disciple, whom do men say that I am? And they said, Jeremiah, one of the prophets. Mm-hmm. And Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, well said. The Holy Ghost showed you that. And then in the next breath, when Jesus said, I got to go, I'm going to have to die, I'm going to be handed over to the authorities, I got to be lynched on a tree. And Peter said, oh, no, we ain't going to let that happen. We ain't going to let nothing happen to you. We'll die for you, Jesus. And he the first one to deny the Lord. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
Ain't that some of your friends? Podcast. Ain't that some of our friends? I'm with you. I'm loyal. I ain't going to never be. And as soon as something go down, they be like, well, we really didn't know her like that. I mean, like, we friends, but we not like friends.
That's it. Hello.
All right, Pastor Sims. Well, hold on. It's time for the music to start playing. We're going to pass the collection plate now.
It's offering time.
It's offering time. All righty. I'm going to do my random question, and I want you to tell my audience how they connect with you, possibly to schedule a session.
Yes, ma'am.
Group, how they want to pick up the book or whatever.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, drum roll.
And maybe I know I said church was down in Alabama, but you have virtual church as well, right?
That's correct.
All right. So we're gonna find all that out after we do the random question. Let's see what we got. Yeah, let's see. Okay. What superpower would you want to have?
Girl, that's in my wheelhouse because I just watched Hancock last night for like the umpteenth time. if I had a superpower, and this may sound strange, and I talk about this all the time. This may sound strange, but I would like to have the ability to jump. And I would like to have the ability to go everywhere I need to go without having to, I won't say waste time, but to take that travel time, because that eats
Oh,
up so much time.
time.
Like I went to Austin last year, Austin, Texas. I went to Las Vegas, Nevada. I went to Miami, Florida for some events. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I have the ability to jump, I can. Dr. Sims could be everywhere like a Visa card. I could be
Mm-hmm.
everywhere that I'm needed to be. You know what I'm saying? And just that ability alone will allow me to reach the millions of people that I want to reach. You know what I'm saying? And so that
Awesome.
might seem like an odd superpower, but I want the power to jump everywhere I need to be.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Sims, Pastor, please tell us where we can, how we can contact you, get in touch with you, get some service, get the word and all of that stuff. Just tell us how to
Oh,
connect.
I love this question now because I use what they call Linktree,
Mm-hmm.
linktr.ee/ Dr. Walter Sim, and it houses everything. I'm on iTunes now. I got a podcast. I do a daily show, but I'm
Awesome.
on podcast now. iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, my YouTube channel, my membership, my emailing list, the virtual church, my main website. All of it's encapsulated on Linktree. So I am so excited about that. Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. And so that's how they can find me.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, the next time we down in Alabama, we're gonna have us some sweet tea and some biscuits. And I'm come on down there and sit with Pastor Sims. Let's get me some word in there.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes, ma'am.
truly, I truly appreciate you. I enjoyed my time with you today. You know, sometimes we get the impression of sitting down with the pastor might be a little stuffy, but you know.
Right. I'm not that guy. I'm not
Not
that
that
guy.
guy. Not that guy. Not that guy. I enjoyed my time with you today.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Amen.
That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.